Hey everyone, welcome back. Before we get into it, I've got some business I need to take care of. Please listen to the whole thing because it's definitely got a benefit to you. This episode is brought to you by Trident Coffee, the veteran-owned brand where every sip inspires you to live life full steam ahead. I've been drinking their coffees for a while now, and I'm glad to partner with a company whose products I use. At Trident, they're more than just coffee. They're storytellers. Crafted by veterans, their instant cold brew is perfect for those who serve, those who have served, and anyone who values wellness. Featuring natural ingredients like organic mushrooms, adaptogens, and nootropics, it's more than just a morning pick-me-up. It's your new wellness ritual. Enjoy it at home or on the go, wherever your day takes you. Trident Coffee isn't just about great-tasting coffee. It's about empowering you to be the healthiest version of yourself, because great veterans make great citizens. Try their instant cold brew today, along with many other coffee products, and taste the freedom of wellness. Remember, when you choose Trident, you're not just choosing coffee. You're choosing a path of connection through health and wellness. Head on over to tridentcoffee.com and use the promo code TDP15 for 15% off your order. Again, that's TDP15 for 15% off your order. Let's get into round 23 of the tactical transition tips. This time, the close range group. Those of you who are looking at transition right away to, say, a year out, join a peer group. And for the medium range group, those of you who are looking at transition in about 5 years or so, take some civilian leadership courses. And for the long range group, those of you looking at least a decade, if not longer, maybe those of you who are just starting your career, make a hobby a job.
When you transition out, is try to model all of the good things, the discipline, the structure, that little bit of rigidity into your everyday life. And I think that that's a great way to make that transition happen, man.
Figuring out who you are, not what you did. It's not who you are. It's a piece, but it's not the whole you.
Take the time to invest in yourself because it means everything. You know? That's what the difference is. The difference is not just to collect a check. It's to live 25 years, 30, 40 years after you retire and pay it forward that way.
For the close range group, you need to find that new group. And what I mean by that is, unfortunately, when we transition from these careers, we are going to lose connection to many of the people that we interact with. And unfortunately, you will find yourself kind of feeling like a bit of a used to be. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but just understand that that's going to come. No matter how well or how much you think you're going to stay in contact with a lot of people, unfortunately, we become out of sight, out of mind. So before you get to that point, put a peer group in place now and establish that new group that you have as a resource. This group should be it doesn't need to be a big group. It could be 4 or 5 people. But it's that group that you go to, most importantly for support. Most importantly for, can 2 things be most important? Very importantly. You want support. You want people who understand you, that are like-minded, that make you feel comfortable, that give you what we've got in these careers while we're active. I would say that you need to do a good look in the mirror and see where you're kind of at currently. If you're already somebody who's got, let's say, natural negative tendencies, the job sucks, the civilian world doesn't understand us, our organizations are problematic, just giving some overgeneralizations here. But if you find that you're already a little bit on that negative side, then I would strongly encourage you to try to find a group that maybe takes you out of that mental mindset. That is a group of people, it could or could not be other veterans, other first responders, but that they're positive in their nature, that they're looking forward to their future, that they're supportive of you making your transition and what's going to become of your future, as opposed to finding another like group or a group that mirrors that negative speak, where it's easy just to kind of sit around and complain about everything, as opposed to moving forward and trying to at least find the positive in things. I understand that the world is not roses and rainbows, but we still need to make the best of it. And sometimes we can be our own worst enemy because we get wrapped up in that negative speak. So find that group that is supportive, encouraging, wants to see you do the best you can, and kind of leave where I'm tempering this. If you're coming to the table of transition with kind of a negative mentality, you want that group that's going to tell you, hey, leave that behind you. Move forward with a new positive outlook. And in turn, they support and foster that positive outlook. I would also recommend, regardless if you kind of see yourself as negative or positive, look for a group that maybe embraces, maybe hits it head on, the whole aspect of mental health. These jobs jack us up, no doubt about it. And for some of us, we might not be realizing how much it's impacted us until maybe we've had the opportunity or have the opportunity to sit with others and listen to what they've experienced and what they're feeling, to kind of be that, oh, light bulb, maybe I am experiencing some of the same issues. I just didn't realize it, or I didn't want to admit to it. The flip side, maybe you are somebody who's very well adjusted. You were able to get through your career. You've got good built-in coping mechanisms. Maybe you recognized something years ago and have already been getting help. You can now become that positive voice or that positive anchor in the group for those who are struggling, for you to be kind of a beacon or a guiding light, like, hey, maybe I can adopt some of the principles that you're bringing to the table. So it's a yin and a yang type relationship. But I would strongly encourage you to address and look at the mental health component coming out of these careers, because I think it impacts more of us than we allow ourselves to admit. What I would also say is, look at a potential group that fits what you need or what you want. Whatever that group is, I don't know. It could be a group that gets together and talks about books or goes motorcycle riding or whatever it is. If there's not that type of group for you in your area, consider starting one. Because inevitably, what's probably happening is there are others just like you that are in your geographic area looking for the same thing, but just waiting for somebody else to start that group. You never know what you might encourage by simply putting some steps in place to create that new group. You know, it could be, I think it very common, like a shooting group or something, but it could be something as, if you really love coffee and you want to put together a coffee group, or if you really love listening to Elvis Presley music or whatever, creating a group and somehow working to facilitate a come together once a week, once a month, whatever it is, not only helps you, but it's going to be potentially helping somebody else. But at the end of it, put in place right now that outside group, and maybe they stay an outside group for a little while as you're approaching your transition, but once you make your transition, that might become your A group. And so make sure you find a good one that is good for you, not only going through your transition, but moving forward. For the medium range group, look into some of the civilian leadership classes that are out there. There are a lot of them. Surprisingly enough, there are a good mix of those that are free and those that are fee-based. These are not college degrees. These are short, intensive type online, in-person programs. They might be a couple months. They could be a week long, uninterrupted. They could be a weekend. There's going to be a variety of them. Look into those that interest you. Look into the free ones, but don't discount the ones that are going to be fee-based. What I would say is, if you've got an idea of what career, job, business entity, whatever it is that you want to get to, start doing your intelligence gathering. And if you find that that entity puts a lot of value on a specific certificate program or a specific certificate, then look into getting that one. If it's fee-based, then you have to say to yourself, is it worth the investment in your future? And does the cost of it outweigh what you might get from it? And where I'm going with that is, one of the ones in just a quick search that I found is Disney actually offers leadership training courses. They're offered either in Florida or California because they are in person. They are quite pricey. I want to say, if I remember correctly, they were a couple $1,000s. But if, for whatever reason, you're looking to get into a business that values Disney's leadership program, then maybe it's worth it for you to invest that money and at least be able to add an extra layer or an extra feather in your cap over anybody else who's coming in the door when you go to get that job. For the military people, most of the branches have an arm where they teach civilian leadership. And so if you're active military or DOD, you might be able to get into some of these courses now. For the first responder community, I wouldn't overlook any of these either, because they may grant you partner status, or whatever you want to call it, because you're a first responder to be able to take some of these courses. But look into those options also. At minimum, simply do a Google search for civilian leadership courses. You'll be surprised how many are out there. What's even more shocking is how many of them are for free from very well-known organizations. Practical example, one of the ones that I came up with was Harvard has the Exercising Leadership Foundation Principles program. It's a free online civilian leadership course that is open to everybody. So take a little bit of time, take a little bit of effort, and find some of these courses that when it comes time to make your transition, you're really kind of setting yourself apart from other people. We bring leadership to the table because of these careers that we're coming from. Even though your rank may not have been of what is deemed leadership, we're all leaders. We're all put in leadership positions. I guarantee you that when we transition out, if we were to be put in a scenario in our new environment, we're probably going to be the ones who step forward and take the lead. It's what we naturally do. Why not bolster that with some certificates that shows you put yourself through some training, you got some advanced training and education that the next person doesn't, and potentially you can get it for free. For the long range group, we all have hobbies that we like, whatever it is. Find a way that you can take that hobby that you love doing, that thing that if you had a Saturday free and you had nothing to go do, that's probably what you would be doing. Whether it's riding your motorcycle, whether it's woodworking, whether it's getting out on your bicycle, whether it's jujitsu, whatever it is, that's your hobby. You love doing it. See if there's a way that you can make that a job for you. You've got a lot of years ahead of you. You've got a lot of time without a lot of pressure of it's got to be done today, to really kind of evaluate it, develop it, create a business plan on exactly what it will take to Get that off the ground. Logistics, supplies, finances, whatever it is, get all of that in place and see if it's something that can become viable for you. I would say that the one thing we need to remember from these careers is while we're still active, make sure that you get the blessing, the authorization, whatever word you want to use, from your organization that you can move forward with this. So do a business plan just like any other business would do. Seek out people who are business owners to give you some advice on creating this business. Look at other companies or other people that are doing maybe something similar to the hobby that you enjoy doing that you want to turn into a job. See if they'll give you some guidance. I would imagine they'll probably be pretty open to helping you out. But what I would do is evaluate what they're offering and see how you could do it differently or how you would do it better. Get all of that in place. And then the one benefit that you have right now is you give it a try. And so what if it fails? You take a step back, you reevaluate, you see what was done right, what was done wrong, what changes you need to make, and you try again. But you don't have the pressure of, I have to make this work the first time out of the gate, because you've got a bunch of years until you need to make it viable. On the flip side, it may be a bang-up success right out of the gate. Good for you. And then what you can do is keep it going or grow it to the point that when you come to your transition, possibly it's running itself. And then you can go focus on something else, as opposed to developing the idea, thinking about it for the next decade or so, and then trying to implement it once you make your transition when you might be in a situation of, I need this to work right now. Take this time, gamble, roll the dice. If you roll snake eyes, roll again, and you can keep trying until you get it right. The thing I would say, though, is what you're doing goes back to, like I was saying, with joining a peer group. It's a hobby and something you love doing, but you'd probably be surprised how many other people love doing it also. And if there's not something already in your area, there's a good likelihood that it might take off. You don't know. Give it a try. And I'm not going to say fails, because it just may not work in that first iteration. Evaluate it, try it again. The only thing that could potentially be the biggest hindrance, obviously, be finances, but look into private entities that finance business startups. If you've got a good enough idea, somebody might put the money behind it so there's no money out of your pocket. Just something to think about. But do the research, figure out what it's going to take to get it going, and give it a try. But at the core of it, do something that you truly love and enjoy doing, and see if you can make that a job, or that is something that gives back to you financially. Maybe you have a hobby that you can create an entity that gives back to others, which then gives back to you emotionally and fulfills you inside you, that you could then potentially grow. Because if you're doing something really good that is helping and benefiting a lot of people, you may not make money today, but you're going to get enough attention behind it that other people are going to want to get involved and be part of it with you. And so the money may come down the road, but look at the potential of helping others in that, not just in that meantime, as long as the organization is there, but create something that gives back to that community of people who like that hobby also, and maybe the money comes later. But you've got time, give it a shot. What's the worst that could happen? Try it. So in closing, for the close range group, join that peer group. Find your like-minded new group of people that are going to support you through your transition and onward. For the medium range group, take some civilian leadership courses. We bring leadership with us when we leave these careers. Get a certificate that bolsters that and adds to that on our resume and when you're going into your next job search. And for the long range group, we all have it. If there's something that you love doing, see if you can make that a job and give it a try now before you have to make it a job. As always, thank you for your time. I appreciate you taking the time to listen or watch these episodes. If there's anything I need to cover, if there's anything you want to hear, please let me know. Shoot me an email. Please share the podcast, whether it's this episode or the podcast in general, with anybody who you think might benefit from it. And I'll catch you on the next one.